I will pay you 500,000 naira, but only if you let me suck your breasts. If you are not interested, I'll keep my money. But let me remind you, 500,000 naira is a lot of money. It could change your life.
Banke's life had always been a tale of determination. For 2 years, she endured the snide comments of neighbors and the sting of disappointment each time JAMB results were announced. But finally, her persistence bore fruit. She gained admission into the prestigious University of Calabar. Her excitement was unmatched, not just because she could finally pursue her dreams, but because it silenced the neighborhood gossips. For once, they congratulated her instead of mocking her family struggles. Before she left for school, Banke's parents set her down for the kind of talk every Nigerian child recognizes. "Banke, my daughter," her mother started, her voice heavy with emotion. "This school you are going to is not your village, oh. Stay away from bad friends, concentrate on your studies, and remember the child of whom you are." "Yes, Mama," Banke replied, nodding earnestly.
"And no boys, no men, especially those promising heaven and earth with their money."
Her father added sternly,
"We sold the land your grandfather left us to see you through school. Make us proud, Banke."
"I will, Papa," Banke said, her voice soft but determined. The sacrifices her parents made weighed on her heart. She promised herself that she would not let them down. Calabar was everything Banke had imagined: bustling streets, colorful markets, and a vibrant campus life that pulsed with energy. She moved into the hostel and met her roommate, Amaka, a stunningly beautiful girl from the east whose confidence lit up every room she entered. Amaka was the center of attention on campus. She missed lectures frequently to attend parties, and her social media was flooded with pictures from lavish events. Though Banke was initially put off by Amaka's lifestyle, envy began to creep in. One sunny afternoon, as Banke walked back to the hostel with her classmate Jude, she overheard a group of students discussing an ushering job that paid 30,000 naira per day. 30,000 naira per day? Banke asked Jude, her curiosity piqued. Jude shrugged.
"I don't know much about it, but I hear it's not for decent girls."
Banke frowned, but couldn't shake the thought of earning such money. Back in the hostel, she brought it up with Amaka. "Amaka, do you know about these ushering jobs?" Banke asked. Amaka's face lit up. "Of course, it's just normal ushering work, babe. Politicians are coming to Abuja for the weekend, and they need pretty girls to guide them to their seats, serve them drinks, that kind of thing. It's easy money, 30,000 naira a day, and you will even get free transport and accommodation. You will be perfect for it." The idea of earning 90,000 naira in just 3 days made Banke's heart race. It sounded like a dream come true. "But isn't it risky?" she asked hesitantly. "Risky how?" "Babe, you're just overthinking this. Look, I have done it before, and I'm still here, right? This is your chance to make money and upgrade your wardrobe. Imagine how those neighbors of yours will feel when you come home looking fresh." Abi Banke hesitated, but eventually agreed. The promise of easy money was too tempting to ignore. On Thursday morning, Banke and Amaka boarded a luxurious bus headed for Abuja. The organizers who had contacted Amaka had spared no expense. The girls were checked into a posh hotel, each assigned a private room. Banke couldn't believe her luck. It all seemed too good to be true. That evening, they were briefed on their duties, smiling, greeting guests, and ensuring the event ran smoothly. Everything seemed legitimate. Yet, something about the men who had organized the job made Banke uneasy. They watched the girls with predatory eyes, their conversations laced with cryptic remarks. "Banke, relax," Amaka whispered as they prepared for the event. "You are too tense. Smile more, okay? This is how big girls roll." Banke tried to push her doubts aside, but her mother's words echoed in her mind. "Stay away from the things that look too good to be true." The first night went smoothly. Banke fulfilled her duties, earning compliments for her grace and poise. But as the event wound down, one of the men approached her.
"You're new, aren't you?"
he asked, his voice dripping with charm. "Yes, sir," Banke replied nervously. He smiled, but there was something unsettling about his gaze.
"You're doing well. Keep it up."
The weekend seemed to drag endlessly for Banke. Each day, she followed instructions, performed her ushering duties, and tried her best to blend in. But beneath the surface, her worry grew. The event had turned out to be less glamorous than Amaka had described, and the behavior of the organizers remained suspicious. On the third day, Banke finally asked Amaka a question that had been on her mind since they arrived. "Amaka, when are we getting paid?" she asked. "At the end of the day, babe, they don't pay until everything is over. Just chill now. Abi, you not trust me?" Banke nodded, though her trust in Amaka was already faltering. She told herself she could endure one more day. Soon, she would have her money and could leave the unsettling experience behind. That night, after the final event, Banke was in a hotel room with Amaka when a knock came at the door. "Who is it?" Amaka called out casually. The door opened and a tall, imposing man in a black outfit stepped inside. His face was stern, his eyes cold. Banke's stomach turned.
"Alhaji Tukur wants to see you,"
the man said, his voice low and commanding as he pointed at Banke. Banke froze. "Me?" she asked, her voice trembling.
"Yes, you. And now?"
She hesitated, panic bubbling inside her. "Why does he want to see me?" Amaka rolled her eyes and nudged her shoulder. "Banke, what is wrong with you? Abi, you don't want your money? Go now." Banke's heart raced. She didn't want to go, but Amaka's words echoed in her mind. "Abi, you no want money?" Reluctantly, she stood up and followed the man out of the room. The man led Banke down the dimly lit hallway to a suite at the end. He knocked once before opening the door and gesturing for her to enter. Inside, the room was lavishly decorated with gold-scented furniture, thick Persian rugs, and an overpowering scent of oud. Seated on the plush armchair was Alhaji Tukur, an elderly man with graying hair and a portly figure. He smiled as Banke entered, but there was something warm about his expression. It was the smile of a predator.
"Ah, you're the beautiful one Amaka mentioned,"
he said, his voice gravely. "Good evening, sir," Banke greeted nervously, avoiding his piercing gaze. Without preamble, Alhaji Tukur leaned forward.
"Take off your clothes."
Banke blinked, stunned. "Excuse me, sir,"
"You heard me,"
he said, his tone calm but firm.
"I'll pay you 500,000 naira, but only if you let me suck your breasts."
Banke's heart dropped. This wasn't what she had signed up for. She had been promised an ushering job, not this. "Sir, I don't think..." Alhaji Tukur interrupted her.
"No need to think too much, my dear. If you're not interested, I'll keep my money. But let me remind you, 500,000 naira is a lot of money. It could change your life."
Banke stared at him, her mind racing. She had never seen or touched that kind of money in her life. Her parents had sold their only piece of land just to send her to school. With 500,000 naira, she could take care of her school fees, buy her textbooks, and even send some money back home. "But you don't want to sleep with me, right?" she asked cautiously. The man laughed. Banke's thoughts spiraled. "It's just my breasts," she reasoned. "He won't touch anything else. And 500,000 naira." She could already imagine the pride in her parents' eyes when she sent them money. She thought of Amaka, who always seemed to be so carefree and confident, and wondered if this was her secret. After what felt like an eternity, she nodded slowly. "Okay, sir." Alhaji's smile widened.
"Good girl, come here."
Banke approached him, her legs trembling as she sat stiffly on the edge of the lavish hotel bed. Her heart pounded in her chest. She couldn't believe this was happening. "How did I end up here?" she wondered. Her palms were clammy and her knees trembled as she stood before Alhaji Tukur.
"Relax, my dear,"
he said, his tone smooth.
"It won't hurt, and it won't take long."
Banke swallowed hard and nodded, her gaze fixed on the patterned carpet. She had come this far, and the thought of living without the promised 500,000 naira seemed unbearable. Slowly, hesitantly, she gave in. Alhaji Tukur leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with an intensity that made her skin crawl. Before she could even register what was happening, it was over.
You see?
Alhaji said, leaning back with a satisfied grin.
I told you it wouldn't hurt or take time.
Banke jumped up from the bed, her heart racing. She looked around the room, dazed and disoriented. The last thing she remembered was agreeing to Alhaji's demands. Alhaji reached for a sleek black briefcase, snapping it open with a practiced flick. He pulled out several wads of cash and handed them to her.
This here is 600,000 naira.
He said, his voice filled with smug satisfaction.
Keep the change.
Banke stared at the money in disbelief. Her hands trembled as she took it. She muttered a shaky thank you before quickly retreating to her room. The girls were paid at the end of the conference, and they each returned to their various destinations. When she got back to the University of Calabar, everything about her changed. Gone were her simple dresses and modest lifestyle. Banke began wearing trendy outfits, expensive perfumes, and flashy jewelry. Her appearance became the talk of the campus. Students whispered whenever she walked by. Banke don't turn big yellow, one student said. She was the quiet one before. Where was she seeing all this money? Another replied. Some students avoided her, wary of the sudden change, while others flocked around her, eager to associate with the latest babe on campus. Banke basked in the attention, enjoying her newfound popularity. 2 weeks after the Abuja trip, Banke started feeling a dull ache in her breasts. At first, she dismissed it as nothing serious, but the pain didn't go away. It only grew worse. One morning, as she was getting dressed, she noticed the strange fluid seeping from her nipples. Panicked, she went to the campus clinic. The doctor examined her and reassured her.
It's likely a hormonal imbalance. These things happen sometimes.
He prescribed some medication and told her to come back if the symptoms didn't improve. Banke left the clinic feeling relieved, but deep down, unease lingered. She began taking the drugs, hoping they would work. Days turned into weeks, and instead of improving, Banke's condition worsened. Her breasts began to swell, growing larger with each passing day. The fluid continued to leak, soaking through her bras and clothes. She started wearing loose maxi gowns to hide the changes, avoiding her friends and skipping classes. The whispers on campus grew louder. Why is Banke always covering herself these days? Maybe she's hiding something. Others speculated. The pain became unbearable, and her once glowing skin turned pale. The money she had earned from the ushering job was gone, spent on medications and hospital visits that yielded no results. One morning, Banke woke up and realized she couldn't do it anymore. Her breasts had grown so large and heavy that even walking was a struggle. She packed her belongings and left Calabar, boarding a bus to Akure. Her parents were shocked when she arrived home. The once vibrant and confident Banke now looked like a shadow of herself. Her father stared in disbelief, his mouth agape. Banke, what happened to you? Her mother cried, rushing to hold her, tears streaming down Banke's face as she tried to explain, but the words couldn't come. Her mother dabbed tears from her eyes with the edge of her wrapper. Her father stood by the window, his arms crossed, his face a mask of deep worry. The once bubbly girl who left for Calabar was now a shadow of herself, and they couldn't understand what had gone wrong. Olubanke, her father finally said, breaking the heavy silence.
What is wrong with you? What is going on? How did you get like this?
Banke shifted uncomfortably, avoiding their gaze. I don't know, she whispered. I just woke up one day and started feeling pains in my chest. Then it started swelling. Her mother's voice cracked as she asked, and you didn't think to tell us sooner? I thought it would go away, Banke said, her voice trembling. Her mother didn't waste any time. The next day, they took her to the first hospital in Akure, where the doctor examined her with furrowed brows. Medically, there is nothing here that explains this condition. The doctor said, it's strange. Frustrated, they moved to another hospital, then another and another. Each time, they got the same response. confusion, uncertainty, and no solution. At one point, a candid doctor pulled them aside and said, "I'm sorry, but this doesn't look like a medical problem. It seems more spiritual than anything else." With no other options, Banke's parents turned to prayer houses. They visited one prophet after another, each claiming they could help, but none made any difference. Banke's condition worsened and her breasts grew larger and more grotesque by the day. The fluid leaking from them became foul-smelling, making it difficult for her to stay around people. Her parents, exhausted but determined, eventually heard of Pastor Kunle, a man reputed for solving impossible cases. They took Banke to a small but vibrant church on the outskirts of town. The moment Pastor Kunle laid eyes on Banke, his expression grew serious. He motioned for the family to sit and began to pray. As he prayed, he stopped abruptly and looked at Banke. "My dear," he said, his voice firm but kind, "you need to confess. What have you done?" Banke blinked, confused. "I haven't done anything," she replied, her voice weak. "Think carefully," Pastor Kunle said, his gaze piercing. "This kind of affliction doesn't come without cause. Whatever you have done, you must speak it out for your deliverance." Banke shook her head, racking her brain. Nothing came to mind until it hit her like a thunderclap. "It must be Alhaji Tukur." "Who is Alhaji Tukur?" her mother asked sharply, her voice laced with both fear and suspicion. Tears streamed down Banke's face as she stammered, I met him during the ushering job in Abuja." Her parents exchanged worried glances. "And what did he do to you?" his father demanded. In tears, Banke recounted everything: the ushering job, the money, the trip to Abuja, and the moment she allowed Alhaji Tukur touch her. "Jesu!" her mother wailed, clapping her hands against her thighs. "Ha! Olubanke, after all the things your father and I have done for you, after all the preaching you hear in church, after all the warnings, yet you choose this path of evil." Banke sobbed uncontrollably. "I didn't know, Mama. I didn't know this would happen." Her father turned away, his shoulders slumped in despair. Pastor Kunle waited patiently for the commotion to die down. Then he spoke. "This is serious. Alhaji Tukur is not an ordinary man. You have given him something sacred, and he has used it against you. The only way to break this is to confront him and demand that he untie you." Banke's mother gasped. "How do we even find him?" "You must try," Pastor Kunle said. "It is up to her. She can choose to remain like this or fight to reclaim her destiny." Banke and her parents left Pastor Kunle's church with heavy hearts. The pastor's instructions were clear. They had to find the mysterious Alhaji Tukur. It was the only way to break the affliction. Banke's mother, determined to save her daughter, left for Calabar using the address Banke had provided. Upon arriving at the campus, she located the hostel and met Amaka, the friend Banke had mentioned. "I am Banke's mother," she began, tears glistening in her eyes. "Please, I beg you in the name of God, tell me about Alhaji Tukur. My daughter's life depends on it." Amaka's face twisted into a mask of confusion. "Ma, I don't know what you are talking about," she said, shaking her head. "You don't know?" Banke asked, her voice trembling. "But she said you went to Abuja together for an ushering job. She said you introduced her to him." Amaka recoiled, her tone growing defensive. "Banke must have lied to you. I have never been to Abuja with her or anyone else. I don't even know who this Alhaji Tukur is." Banke stared at her, searching her face for any sign of remorse or guilt, but Amaka's expression remained firm. Defeated and heartbroken, Banke returned to Akure. She shared the disappointing news with her husband and Banke. Banke's condition, meanwhile, continued to deteriorate. Banke's breasts grew larger and heavier, the foul-smelling fluid leaking continuously. She could barely walk or sleep. Her parents sold almost everything they had to pay for medications and more prayers, but nothing worked. One fateful morning, as Banke sat on the floor of their home, unable to rise, she screamed in agony. Her breast, swollen beyond recognition, burst open, releasing a horrific mixture of pus and blood. The pain was unbearable, and before her parents could rush her to the hospital, Banke took her last breath. Her parents were left in shock and unimaginable sorrow, their home filled with the cries of grief. Their once beautiful daughter, full of life and dreams, was gone. Her life tragically cut short by a single reckless decision. Years later, Amaka graduated and moved on with her life. She neither reached out to Banke's family nor acknowledged her role in the tragic event. As for Alhaji Tukur, he was never found. It was later discovered that his real name was Chief Omego, a man notorious for using unsuspecting young women for rituals. But without evidence or a clear trial, he remained free, continuing his wicked exploits in the shadows. The pursuit of quick wealth often leads to destruction. True success comes through patience, hard work, and integrity. Choose your friends wisely, for the company you keep can either build or destroy you. Remember, one wrong decision can cost you everything: your dreams, dignity, and even your life. If you enjoyed this story and would like to see more interesting stories, please consider subscribing to this channel, not forgetting to turn on the bell notification icon so that once another video is being posted, you will be the first to be notified.